Good morning and welcome to another edition of Let It Be Known, and I am your host, Stacy Brown.
Peace and love, everybody. Welcome. I'm Niele Anderson, and we have lots of headlines to get through today. And of course, all of those headlines lead back to the Black experience, of course, Stacy.
It always does, it always should, and as long as we're doing this, it always will, right? What does our producer have for us this morning?
What's going on in the current political climate. I'm just saying I want to turn everybody off. I hate politics. Like despise them. It's a magic trick that it's not real. I don't believe in either side. So I think when you pick a side, you are inadvertently supporting division. Yeah, it's not a popular point of view, but I just gotta say, like, think about it. The wells are drying up, and then okay, now the diversity's off the table, now equity's off the table, now inclusion's off the table. So that makes me ask myself, okay, so how do we survive? Well, are there Black people here tonight? Yeah. And in your heart, do you think for what it is that you do and who you are, do you think you're the best? Okay, so do you want the job because you're Black or because you're the best? Do you want someone to support your startup because you're Black or because you're the best? Yes. Right. So I think now for me, it's about us having the best ambition. That's the reason why you should support these businesses. Yes, they happen to be Black and brown, but it should be based on the thesis that we're the best, not because we are a total shade of a skin color. That's a point of view that I have now that I'm resting on. And if diversity, equity, and inclusion ever comes back in style, cool. But in the meantime, I want to focus on being the best because I can bank on that. Because that's what's going to get you the position. Where, I don't want you to give me anything. I want you to panic and not let me out the room because I'm the best. As we look at what's going on in the current political climate.
Danielle Pierre, you took the words right out of my mouth. Can it be both? Yeah, listen, I don't necessarily agree or disagree. I get the point. About politics, know how I feel about that, but he's saying about DE&I, you rather get the job because you're Black or because you're the best, and yeah, both. We keep overlooking one thing, and maybe Niele sees this situation a little different, but the one thing she always boosts up is reparations, and so in some cases, yes, I want it because I'm Black.
Well, that conversation took place at the 5th annual Black Ambition Demo Day, which is basically a space where Pharrell sows into, creatives. So he's providing a space for people of color because they can't get into the spaces that he's talking about. So right, that's right. Wild number one. And at the event, he was also presented with the key to the city. But I just find it interesting that, he's making these comments and he's talking to a group of minorities that he had to help because white America didn't have a space for them.
Right.
So, I mean, come on, Pharrell, read the room and understand why you created this cohort for Black and brown creatives, because you are making space for them when other places will not. So what are you saying, homeboy?
And that's the thing that people easily, I believe, in general, overlook is that, okay, folks have been fortunate enough to have certain talents and that really stand out. And because of those talents, they were not they were able to be, but they really wasn't overlooked. There are so many more, and this is no shade against Pharrell or anybody else, but there is so many more untapped and unfound talent that is so much better than the great talents that are out there. For the most part, I mean, of course there are exceptions, right? But they didn't have the breaks that you, Pharrell, got. They didn't have the breaks that, say, Jay-Z got, or whomever. And so I think they lose sight of that, and then they get into this world where um, they lose all sense of what it's like to be marginalized. Now they're so that proximity to whiteness has really messed a lot of these people up.
Yeah, for sure. He's talking about, all you have to do is be your best, which, it's just not true in
It's
this country. It's
never good
not
enough in this
it's
country.
not true in this country to be your best as a minority. And so when you think about affirmative action, when you think about DEI and spaces like that, we know why it's important. We know that's
Mhm,
why we went from, Dr. King talking about equality into today we're talking about equity because it just has never been there for us. And
mhm,
to your point, yeah, they get in this bubble once they've made it, and they forget that, like for him to even make those comments, sitting in a room of people that he provided space for, because there was the
mhm,
reason why they applied to his ambition program was because they saw
mhm.
a way to get in, because the way they were trying, it wasn't happening for them. So he just, is very out of touch. I know yesterday when the neighborhood talk posted that, Nicole Haddon Jones jumped in the comments and was like, I don't even understand what this means. Somebody who wrote the 1619 project and really understands the fabric of
Mhm.
this nation, how it's designed, how systemic racism plays a role in it.
Yeah,
It's just like, dude, you are so out of touch. I mean,
yeah, that's what
I applaud
Dr.
him for
Marilyn
what
said.
he's doing, but think about what you're saying, because it
Yeah,
doesn't make any sense.
yeah, and it's a moment in time again where the mindset of where's the mindset of we really desperately need to come together, and you have so many out of touch people, celebrities and others. And it's a shame at this day and age, this point in time, to be out of touch. Nancy Wall says what he's saying is very dangerous. And RNG says, I have told you, I don't pay any attention to celebrities. If it wasn't for Black people, Pharrell wouldn't be on that stage. 1,000%. And
And so you could tell he's somebody that doesn't vote. He doesn't
well,
vote
and
because
he said that.
he's saying he doesn't get involved in politics because he's arrived, and he considers himself a world citizen. If shit gets too hot in America, he's gonna go over to wherever Louis Vuitton is home base and be there. So he doesn't
Mhm.
vote. He's not connected, and so he's definitely dangerous when speaking about politics, because right now it's too many Americans that are struggling and that are impacted by the politics of this Trump clan administration.
Yeah, Shonda H says Pharrell debunks his own statement. She says, did Louis Vuitton pick him as a creative director for their men's fashion division because he's the best or because he's Black? Guarantee you it had something to do with the fact that he's Black. There's guarantee you that. And, I get the whole, I don't know why these guys, unless asked about, if he doesn't want to be asked about politics, that's me. We work it, but outside of it, I'm like, I got my life to live. But, but to in a moment like this, for someone with his platform to go out and say that, Janet Jackson made a comment the other day, which really was crazy too. She said, this is after one of the award shows and they were going in on Trump, and she comes out and says, well, I don't think that these people getting these awards, they should stick to the award and not talk politics at all. And there wasn't necessarily talking politics as much as they were saying how bad this administration has treated people. And I think in her problem is, she was anti Kamala Harris and she is pro Donald Trump. And it's just a shame.
Oh, is she pro Donald Trump or?
She hasn't bluntly stated that, but every statement political wise she's made should suggest that she is just as much a Donald Trump as anybody else.
Hmm.
So again, I could be wrong, but for what I read into everything that she has stated politically, she's all for this. She's all for
Yeah,
this while living out in Great Britain, with a few $1 million in the bank.
Patricia Jackson says doesn't vote because he's not impacted. Aquarius says Pharrell is involved in politics when his cousin died, for sure, because he wanted
That's true.
accountability from the police department. So yeah, I think he should just, just say that politics isn't his strong point, and so he would like to leave those to his fellow comrades who know a little more about it. That would have been a sufficient statement for him
Yeah.
to
So
say.
yeah, the blast because he was blasting folks with their political views. So yeah, Sandy Jones says I'm right about Janet. Yeah, I've seen enough of what she's posted, but you're right about Pharrell in that sense. Like I say, when you say getting involved in, I'm with you on that. But I'm not going. I always say I'm not going to tell you or anybody else how they should be involved or not be involved, and who they should vote for, who they shouldn't vote for. That's up to y'all. The evidence becomes very clear on what a person should and should not do. I think it should be very clear, especially today. So, and Janet is not a Jehovah's Witness, Helen. She never was. She despises Jehovah's Witnesses. Let's drop that part of that narrative. She hates Jehovah's Witnesses. She's made that clear. Today, Niele, is the vote on the Epstein files. And lo and behold, Bloomberg News has come out with what we've already known, that for the last several months, the folks at the FBI and Homeland Security or whomever have been working to take Trump's name out of it. They have confirmed through various FOIAs, Freedom of Information Acts, and various other documents. The reason, Niele, they're saying that during the time that this stuff was going on, that Trump was involved with Epstein, he was a quote unquote private citizen. Therefore, no disclosure of a private citizen, any private citizen, will be in those documents if you were a private citizen at that time. And it's up to the private citizen to give the okay to release the name. Just some, Bernie Mac used to say, some old bull.
Yeah, for sure. At the end of the day, it's trickling out. The information is coming out. So I mean, we know what a blank is, a redacted. We can kind of read between the lines. So regardless, release the files. Redact, redact, redact. Bottom line,
enough emails came out.
Yeah, release the files.
Enough emails came out, so they have taken his name out of the files, but they didn't have control of those emails, and people wonder why. You had, of course, Stephen Jerk Smith come out and talk about, oh, the Democrats could have released the files. They could not have released the files. It was litigation going on, which prevented them from doing so. And these emails that have come out, they were in the hands of the lawyers, the private lawyers, not the government's lawyers, number two, but the government couldn't release them either, the government lawyers either, unless the victims okayed it. And the victims, obviously, Niele, have gotten fed up with the way that this Trump clan has played around with their lives and not released those files. So they gave their blessing to release the emails.
Yeah, I mean, today or tomorrow, the information is going to come out. You have survivors that are beginning to talk. You have the Epstein estate releasing a mass flood of emails, and Lord knows what else they have to release, right? And then, we have what Trump has control of that's going to be redacted. But regardless to the fact, there is going to be a connected dots between him, Melania, and the Epstein file. It's there. The pictures don't lie. And you see a very young Melania in those pictures, okay? And then you see her grow up through the years in photos with Donald Trump and with Donald Trump, Epstein. You see Melania grow into a woman throughout those photos. So there's a huge connection there. We just don't understand what it is, but eventually it's going to come out.
Right, exactly.
And I
Exactly.
believe Nancy Wall says, go get Prince Andrew's records. I really believe just a few weeks ago, we saw King Charles strip him of all of his titles. I
Yep.
believe that they knew that this information was coming out. They know that it is coming out. They understand the implications of Andrew. And that's why King Charles said, we're going to cut this right now because it's coming.
Yeah.
Word on the
And
street is it's dropping.
yeah, and that's his brother. So you know it has to be really deep. And then you have others. Well, I think the guy's name is Larry Summers, who has stepped away from his position now because he knows the file's about to come out. He apparently he's in the files, and there's several others who have left their positions now in the last week or so,
Mm-hmm.
stepped away, hoping to step out of the public spotlight if they
Right.
can. But the Democrats have asked Prince Andrew, the former Prince Andrew, they've invited him to come and testify before Congress. They've asked for interviews with him. They want to know as much as possible as to what he knows.
There is a really good movie on Netflix called Scoop. And it is about the BBC having obtaining the first interview with Andrew about the files, the Epstein files. This is when Queen Elizabeth was alive. It's based on the reporters that went after and try, to get Prince Andrews to do this interview, and they eventually did. But I think, what's interesting is it started with a photo. It started with the
Mm-hmm.
photo of Andrew and as well as walking in the park with Epstein. And from there, that photo made them go down this rabbit hole. And then they were like, we have to interview him. So if you want to get a taste, I see the chat is talking about Prince Andrew. Go
Mm-hmm.
check out Scoop about the BBC reporters. It's really good.
I'm gonna check that out. I didn't know about that. I always like a great journalism movie. If you remember, the 1980s, Absence of Malice was one, but one of my all-time favorite movie about journalism was one of the classics called Northside 777. That movie, I think, was made in like 19, I want to say 1948 or whatever. Great movie. It really helps you to appreciate what journalism should be. And it was a great movie. Absence of Malice was simply about, I mean, it's a good movie too. I think it was Richard Gere, if I'm not mistaken, was in that movie, Absence of Malice. And it just tells you about how journalists should avoid slandering anyone, and how the libel laws work and stuff like that. So, and that was also about something to do with the Washington Post as well, I believe, if I remember correctly. But Call Northside 777 is my favorite journalism movie of all time.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know if Scoop is my favorite, but if you want to get to what happened with Andrew, you can go check it out.
And Dr. Marilyn says Mike Wolf, she said, I think that is his name, the author, is suing Melania Trump. And she thought that was clever, Dr. Marilyn said. And I think exactly because Mike Wolf, I think Melania was threatening to sue him. So he went on ahead and sued her. Said, come on, come at me. He said, come at me, girl. RG says, Niele, that he still doesn't believe Trump will lose any support. His voters and supporters are only concerned about owning the libs, and white men make up 71% of pedo convictions in the USA.
It's interesting that you say that because Democrats believe, there was a story on the Hill this morning about how Democrats believe that Trump supporters, once these files are released, they're going to be sick. Their feelings are going to be hurt. So, we'll see. I don't know what's in these files. And that's what I'm saying. They know. They have insight on what's in these files. Just like I was talking about King Charles cutting his brother off because he knew what was coming down the pipe.
Right.
There is, the fear of Putin having the photos and the videos. All of these conversations are intel that different governments are talking about. Our government is talking about. We just don't know yet. But trust me, they know what's happening in them files on the Hill.
See, I think it could also, one of my guesses is based on what RNG is saying too, is one of my guesses is what I believe I've been seeing. While MAGA, I believe is the nuts are always going to find a way of defending Donald Trump. I don't think that's who he has to worry about. See, we keep, not, I shouldn't say we keep doing it, but I think certain circles keep doing this, that Trump is the guy. Trump is not the guy. Trump is the figurehead of the white supremacy movement. He is the figurehead placed in place. You got the Russell Balts and the Stephen Millers and Steve Bannons and everybody else. That's who he has to worry about staying in good favor with, in my opinion, rather than the voters. Because I think that's another reason why we see all the rigging of the votes going on.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's a combination. It's like a cocktail. One part this, one part that. I believe white supremacy is a part of it. I believe capitalist is a part of it. Because there's a lot of things that Jared Kushner, his sons, I just saw that they have a crypto hotel that they're building in the Maldives. So you have I don't think it's just white supremacy. I think you have the tech world. I mean, it's like a cocktail. One part this, one part that, one part that. And Donald Trump, his legacy is white supremacy. That comes from his daddy. And also the capitalist comes from his legacy. So he has a lot going on, and it's not just one lane that he's pulling from.
The money that he and his supporters, he and his associates are taking from the U.S. government it's something that, if this world is still around in 20 years, somebody is going to do the biggest expose, whether journalism is still the same or not, and it's going to just be so devastating to kids who grow up loving history, and those who feel like America is this and America is that. It's going to be some eye-popping stuff. We're living it. We can see it. It's not. That's the other thing. They're not so covert about it anymore. They're very outward with the corruption.
Yeah, because they think people aren't paying attention, but we are, and we're figuring it out. I know one of the talking points that I would like to see Democrats push more, and I think that even Republicans are going to lean towards this, is that Donald Trump is entering his lame duck phase. He's termed out, less than 2 years away. Midterms
Supposedly.
are coming up. Midterms are coming up, and these new electeds that are coming in are definitely going to be a part of a new presidency if we're following the way things are. And so that is a talking point that you can begin to push in media that can really cause some damage for Donald Trump, because if people start looking at him as a lame duck instead of, is he going to stay, it can make impact on what's going to happen over the next 2 years. So I hope that, I've heard it a couple times, I could see some people trying to brew it up, but I hope that Democrats really lean into it, because there are going to be a lot of Republicans that want to do the same.
Yeah, there's talk that, and I can see it happening when you talk about Democrats. Hakeem Jeffries is going to be primary, and so will some others, which would probably be good for the party. They need to take a look at Mondami and how his position has been, and how successful folks like him are. They need to go in a different direction. Listen, when something doesn't work and you keep doing the same thing over and over again, wow, how insane is that? So we'll see what happens. You're right. He's also, Trump, we know he's destroyed the White House with this ballroom. And now the Preservation Society is really, they filed a lawsuit because he's now targeting the famous old executive building. He wants to paint over it, and
he wants to paint it white. He wants to paint it white.
It's like, who does this stuff? These are national historic monuments. These don't belong to an individual. You can't just go in there, especially a temporary resident. It's like you renting a place. You go rent an apartment, and then you knock out a wall and you do this, and you can't do that. Not without the
Yeah.
owner's permission. So, gosh. Speaking of MAGA, Nicki Minaj first commended President Trump for calling out religious violence in Nigeria. He recently stated that the U.S. should consider firm measures, including military action, if necessary, to protect persecuted Christian communities. Minaj went along with that, and she even decided to go testify for Donald Trump at the UN yesterday. But President Bola Tinubu has stressed that violence has affected citizens of multiple faiths, including both Christians and Muslims. And Nikki has praised Donald Trump. She posted that he is a president who prioritizes Americans and who has, quote, made American cities safer, lowered gas prices, and accomplished world peace. It tells me that Nicki Minaj is either living under a rock, being intentionally ignorant, or just simply is trying to get clicks.
Well, Nicki Minaj is from Trinidad. So the connection to Nigeria, I'm clueless about, but that falls right in line with the Trump administration. She knows nothing about Nigeria, and I give her credit for knowing maybe what's happening in Trinidad, but she knows nothing. I've never known her to be a devout Christian.
Right.
So I mean, it's just, she's been kicked out of the cool kid circle in hip hop. So I guess there's no place left for her to go but MAGA. Maybe she thinks it worked for Kanye, or maybe she likes I don't know, but this is just the most bizarre thing. But they're also saying too that Nicki allegedly has a mental health issue. And she does give you reminiscent episodes like Kanye West, like Britney Spears. The way she just out of nowhere just attacks people. And so, this falls right in line with his agenda and his circle. Crazy, deranged.
You had number 3, crazy, deranged, anything else?
No,
and Dr. Marilyn took the words right in my mouth. She says, and let's be clear, she's married to a registered sex offender.
Yeah.
It goes hand in hand with MAGA. So there we go.
and for the ambassador Mike Waltz, he posted on his Instagram or Twitter, whatever. Nicki is not only arguably the greatest female recording artist, but also a principled individual who refuses to remain silent in the face of injustice. Now, I bet you he couldn't even name me one Nicki Minaj song. Looking at him, he could not name me one Nicki Minaj song.
Oh my gosh. And the moment that she has an episode and goes against anything MAGA, then what is he gonna write? What is he gonna say?
He's gonna go Marjorie Taylor Greene on her. He's gonna go nuclear on her. But speaking of Twitter, there is a massive cloud flare outage causing thousands of websites to go down. And I believe Twitter is one of those websites that are down. And
Twitter is down. Yeah.
It's a lot happening. It's a major outage. It's happening across multiple websites. And I mean, I know for me, I've been having issues with calling people. We had a power outage out here that affected over 100,000 DWP consumers. I was one of them. But the crazy part about it was, Stacy, when you called DWP, there was no answer. It was just like dead silence. And I mean, this is 100,000 people. So there's some strange shit going on with technology. So everybody get you a battery pack.
Now, DWP in California is the Department of Water and Power, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, I'm just saying it for the people who are not in who may not know that that's in California, because like in Washington, what you got Exelon, and New York, you got Con Edison. So that's all. Yeah. Dr. Marilyn says, yes, Niele, he is going to cancel the barbs
Well, he don't want none of they smoke. They're a little crazy. They'll show up at the White House.
The Barbs.
They will show up at the White House. Okay.
Oh gosh, a viral video, folks, showing a black woman screaming in pain as she waits to be admitted at a Dallas hospital while in active labor has sparked outrage online and allegations of medical racism. We already know the story about blacks and maternal health and the lack of care black women get, but this video, which was shared by TikTok user Cash. The pregnant woman, identified as Carrie Jones, wailed in pain over a wheelchair as a nurse conducted intake questions with no feeling whatsoever, no compassion. Look, there it is right there. I don't know if she got the sound or not, but I mean, this was hard to watch.
Your third pregnancy? Yes. You have 2 babies. It's in my ass. You have 2 babies at home? Who's your doctor?
Lang is her doctor.
When's your due date?
Right now.
Is your due date 11?
She was left in the waiting room. They said she was left in the waiting room for more than 30 minutes. And 12 minutes after they finally came, she had the baby. And you just look at that, is just disgusting behavior for a health care professional. I can't read what she got on the screen there. But yeah, a pregnant woman, all pregnant women are supposed to go straight to labor and delivery, not the waiting room. Exactly.
I mean, this just goes to show you why the work that Lauren Underwood on Capitol Hill is doing for Black maternal health is so important. We had Black Women for Wellness on the show a couple of times. The work that they do is so important. And that's why government funding is important, because we take better care for the most part. I know there are bad Black doctors out there too, but statistics do show when we are cared for by one another, just it's a better experience for the most part. I know over the weekend, tons of people, responded. I know Jay-Z's Rock Nation, the philanthropic arm of it, they put out a statement saying that this is unacceptable. So I expect to see them maybe filing a lawsuit against this hospital. I know they have been calling for this nurse to be fired, or at least put on suspension, and investigated for her actions. But I mean, this just proves why, the Omnibus Act is important. This proves why when people are on Capitol Hill talking about Black health care and care for Black folks, this is what they're talking about, because she's one of probably 1,000 Black folks across the nation.
Shonda Aites says that I guess she saw a report that the nurse has been fired. She says allegedly. The Texas Board of Nursing should do an investigation and suspend her license, not put stipulations on her license. I agree with that. RNG says that the Karen in that video will use her white privilege and her mayonnaise tears, so she will become the victim. Watch her GoFundMe reaches $1 million. I don't disagree with that. It's going to happen. I should say I agree with that. That's exactly what's going to happen. And yes, Mike V, we do need more Black doulas. And there was a doula who commented, Griffith in the comments, and was like, how in the world does another human being, especially a woman and a woman, you see this woman in that much pain and you are just, okay, so what? That's right. Disgusting.
Yeah, that a lot of people felt that video went viral over the weekend. And a lot of for real, that's politics, going back to for real, that's politics, bro. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, you talk about just pick yourself up and be your best. She was her best. She was at the hospital. She did all the right things. She went to the hospital to deliver her baby. What did she get as a Black person from a white person? So, it just, when it reverts back to like him saying, just pull your bootstraps up. It don't work like that, bro.
Just all that intake stuff could always be done later. And in emergency cases, it is mostly always done later. She ain't going nowhere. She's got a baby to come in. She said the baby was in her butt at that moment.
Right.
Like, come on, give me a break. You talk about give me a break. Listen, I want to know how folks feel about this. This is not a testimony as to whether O.J. Simpson sliced those people up and killed them. I always believed that he did. But almost 30 years after, a civil court held him liable for the wrongful deaths of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Goldman. His estate has finally agreed to pay a wild sum of money to Fred Goldman, Ron's father. The creditor claim was filed by Fred in July of 2024 for the amount of $57,997,000 plus judgment interest on the approved amount. The settlement agreement was filed by Malcolm Laverne, the estate's executor in the Clark County District in Nevada. And so they've agreed to pay out almost $60 million to Ron Goldman's dad. And, you know, I'm a parent. Somebody does that to my child. And, you know, I know that you can't tell a person how to grieve and what you can't really say. And you don't want to ever have to imagine being in Fred Goldman's position. But it seemed to stand out for many, and I among them, that this simply became about the money for Fred Goldman. And to me, all these years later, Fred Goldman is 84 years old. OJ is dead. And you continue to pursue monetary judgment. The Brown family did not. And I just don't get it. You know, to an extent, maybe. I don't know, Neil, help me out here. What do you guys think? No, they are going to get the money, Nancy Wall. They've agreed. The state has reconciled some things, and OJ's estate is probably worth a lot more than that. The only claim that they're not, the only claim that they've accepted was the Fred Goldman claim. They told the IRS they're going to fight them. They've told other creditors that they're going to fight them, but they've agreed to pay Fred, which is against what OJ wanted.
Well, OJ ain't here. And you know what Black women say about that whole little situation he had going on. And I'm going to just leave it at that.
Oh, boy. Well,
but I want to go back to something that Shonda said, which I saw this headline too, which is important. The Department of Education is proposing that nursing is not considered a profession, which will limit the amount of minorities and others who can get loans to pursue advanced degrees in nursing. And so, you know, this is another Trump clan, you know, mandate that he's doing. And, you know, that's important to point out. And that's going to affect Black, brown, white, red, everybody.
Yeah. And Shonda also says that that's a way to extract Black wealth, to take from Black wealth. Of course it is. She's talking about, I believe she's talking about both. She could be talking about both, the nursing and OJ. A for life. Listen, I don't know what that's supposed to mean. But anyway, that individual writes that how do you get a settlement civilly when there's no criminal convictions? Well, the very simple answer to that is that there are two different courts. And a year after OJ's acquittal, the family of Ron Goldman did sue OJ and won a civil judgment. It was at the time $33.1 million, and with all these years and interest compounded, OJ has always avoided paying out Fred. In fact, he famously said he would never give Fred a dime. It became very personal.
Hopefully this will bring him peace. Hopefully he'll have some peace now.
Maybe so.
Yeah, hopefully he'll have some peace and he can move on and be okay. You know, because it seems like OJ's family is like, I'm sick of it. Let's just get it done. We have it, give it to him. I'd rather be broke and have a peace of mind than dealing with him. So they got the money. Hopefully everybody, and like we like to say, can rest in peace or rest in heaven.
And you know what? And the last thing I'll say about that question is we often conflate and conflict that innocence and guilty. Innocence doesn't mean not guilty doesn't mean innocence, I should say. It doesn't mean that you're innocent. If in some cases not guilty simply means that the prosecutor either didn't have enough evidence at the time, or poorly put their evidence on, or the jury just didn't believe that the prosecution proved this case. It's as simple as that.
In the words of Johnny Cochran, if it doesn't fit, you must acquit. So we have a few more headlines to get to today. Yesterday, Donald Trump spoke at the McDonald's Impact Summit. He wanted to talk to them about his efforts around affordability. Now, the audience included McDonald's owners, operators, suppliers, and leadership, which all gathered in Washington, D.C. Now, this comes as Trump has said Republicans need to focus more on messaging their efforts to bring down the cost of living. So he thought going to talk to McDonald's operators would help with the affordability and inflation crisis when a Big Mac is probably now $7. Okay, so I'm not talking about a meal either. I'm just talking about the Big Mac. So this is how our president is feeling like he needs to stomp across the country, talk to McDonald's.
He said that the McDonald's fish sandwich needs more tartar sauce. He says they need to put more tartar sauce on it.
That's what he told him yesterday.
Yeah, he did. But you had me at
This is our president, y'all. He felt like he wanted to talk about affordability and bringing the cost down. He wanted to talk to McDonald's operators. I wonder, I know we have a cluster. There's a Black family out here that owns a cluster of McDonald's out here. I wonder if they were there and what their thoughts were. Like, huh?
But you know what, Niele, you made a point a minute ago about the lame duck and going into the year of the midterms. Donald Trump recognizes that no matter what he says, because just the last couple of days, he's relaxed a lot of tariffs. He's reversed a lot of the tariffs that he's been putting out there, knowing that it's helping to just decimate Americans, and knowing that it's a year of the midterms coming up.
Yeah. And, it's self-serving too. I know they showed his desk. I think it was maybe Switzerland. Who makes the Rolex? Is it Switzerland?
Yeah,
whatever company makes the Rolex, they sent him a Rolex clock and a gold bar and a note full of pleasantries. And he decreased their tariffs. So, I mean, he's not doing it for no other reasons but self-serving. Oh, you send me a Rolex? Decrease your tariffs.
We
you
need
send
that.
me a good cigar? I may let some people go to Cuba. That the rhyme and reason with this man is scary.
Yeah, you asked what country with the Rolex. You might want to ask Mike V. I think Mike V has a few Rolexes and stuff like that.
Oh.
That's it.
All right, a couple more headlines. Just as we talk about the midterms, Greg Abbott has scheduled the runoff election for the vacant House seat in Texas. And I'm talking about the seat that was vacated by Sylvester Turner, who passed away, who also succeeded Rep. Sheila Jackson Lee. Now, a pair of Democrats are running for the seat, and I'm talking about attorney Christian Menefee and former Houston City Council member Amanda Edwards. Now, they will square off as we look at, what seats are available. That's a very important seat, especially as we look at redistricting too in Texas and how that's going to all play out.
Okay. Things are
Yep. And then in more news, it looks like ESPN has given Stephen A. Smith the boot. From the NBA Countdown, that is. Now, Smith has had a recurring role on the show that has had several name changes since 2003, 2003. And some are saying his political views play a part in the decision.
That's interesting because ABC and Disney is another one of those who capitulated to Trump. So I'm surprised they don't want him on this view.
Did they?
Love.
How so?
Yeah, ABC paid out a big settlement to Trump. So what is it? I can't think of the amount, but I think they were one of the networks that paid out to Trump as well.
I but I also think they're one of the ones that hold the line. They brought Jimmy
Is
Kimmel
that?
back, George Snepolopoulos. How do you
Yeah, yeah. What's
remember
that Sesame Street character name?
he hung up on JD Vance. So I think
Oh, he
they're one of
did.
the
Yeah,
ones
maybe.
that
I don't know. I thought for
hold the
sure.
line when it
Yeah,
comes to Donald Trump as much as
I
they
thought.
can.
Yeah, I thought for sure that ABC, maybe it was just ABC News. I don't know. I thought for sure ABC was one of those. If I'm wrong, then I apologize, ABC. Good for you if you haven't. Um, RG says, don't ask me. He says his wall clock is old as the Ten Commandments, by the way. So he's all, this guy. But anyway,
That David Youngblood said it right. Stephen A. Smith wasn't
yep,
hired for his political commentary. And with
exactly.
so much happening, we just want to watch the game. We just want to
Right.
hear Michael Jordan tell his stories and get his views on the players. We want to hear what he thinks about LeBron. We don't care about your political views, Stephen A. Smith. We
Yeah.
don't. And I
So
think
yeah,
ABC doesn't either.
well, so yeah, and December 16th, 2024, last year, Donald Trump secured a $15 million payment from ABC News and a note of regret as part of a settlement of a defamation lawsuit he brought against the network. So they did a preemptive, please forgive me, Trump, and giving him $15 million last December. So yeah, so it's interesting, very interesting.
Yeah.
He's trying to sue the BBC, and the BBC said, bring it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
It's a different world of how you have to walk and maneuver in a Trump clan administration. So
and Stephen A
everybody,
wants to be
if you want to survive at some point, you're gonna have to pay to play. Under a Trump
Stephen A.
administration.
Stephen A wants to be the other Bubba.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see if he begins to tone down his rhetoric, because I mean he still has 10 other jobs, 10 other sports jobs. So it'll be interesting to see, how he handles this, if he takes to mind his approach to the shows now. So we'll be paying attention, Stephen A. And last but not least, since we're talking about job cuts, Walgreens is ending paid holiday pay for hourly employees for 6 major holidays. Now, the holidays that they are no longer paying hourly employees for are Thanksgiving, New Year's Day, Memorial Day, Labor Day, and 4th of July. Now, the policy change is part of a cost-cutting effort amid corporate layoffs and store closures. And so we just see at least once or twice a week, we're talking about, corporations cutting jobs. And so it'll be very interesting to see how all of this plays into the midterms and how these elected officials discuss this.
So I will say this about that. If they're truly in need to cut costs, it's better that they cut out this holiday pay or double time or whatever and keep the employee than to fire the employee saying we can't pay you. I think that in this climate, people need their jobs. And you hate to see, folks immediately jump, oh, the bottom line is low and we got to get rid of people's livelihoods when everything rates, your salaries haven't gone up with inflation. Your salaries haven't gone up with all those tariffs. You're happening with the healthcare costs increasing, food increasing, gas increasing, despite what Nicki Minaj said. Folks are struggling, and the middle class is almost no more. The middle class is poor. So good if Walmart really was it Walmart or Walgreens?
Walgreens.
If Walgreens really needs to do that, then good for them, making sure that people stay employed instead of listen, we can't give you the double time that we used to give you on holidays.
Yeah. Well, it was just paid. Like, you don't come to work, you get the day off, but you get the pay. Basically, they're being treated like contract workers. That's what you get when you have a client.
Right.
You get paid for what you do.
Right.
And so, yeah, I mean, that's just the times we live in, right now. And to your point, yeah, I guess that would be better than them saying we're going to have to lay you off. But I bet you the CEO is gonna get paid.
I bet he's getting paid
home with his family.
Yep.
And if he would just give maybe a pinch of his multi-million-dollar salary back into the pot, you know, it might make a difference. So, you know,
Right.
you can look at it a lot of ways.
You can, without question. Um, Folks, a little bit of Black history on this date. In 1994, Cab Calloway passed away in Delaware at the age of 86. He was born in Rochester, New York, and was a leading figure of the swing era. He was famous for his residency at the famous Cotton Club in Harlem and his signature song, Minnie the Moocher. His career spanned 65 years, and he later achieved renewed fame with roles in Sesame Street and the Blues Brothers, along with stage appearances in productions like Porgy and Bess. So in 1994, on this date, November 18th, we lost the great Cab Calloway.
Yeah, I think, yeah, Sesame Street, the Blues Brothers, and another iconic moment that revived him was Janet Jackson's "All Right" video with Heavy
Oh,
D.
that's right.
And they gave a nod to him, and I think that, you know, of the Gen X generation, we were, you know, reintroduced and reminded of him in that classic video, "All Right." And my Black History fact today takes us back to the year of 1949 when Jackie Robinson became the first Black
Yes.
player to win a Major League MVP award.
Yes, the great Jackie Roosevelt Robinson. And I know I mentioned this before the last time we talked about Jackie Robinson, but you know, his widow, Rachel, still going strong. I think she's 104.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and
Nice.
just always been one of the more elegant and beautiful Black women. So good for Rachel Robinson. And yep, great fact. One last note too, though, about the Walgreens. Dr. Nicole says that that holiday pay was a perk because part-time workers usually do not get holiday pay at all. So another reason to, you know, the one way of looking at it, like I said, is that at least they're not firing folks.
Yeah, well, I don't think that wasn't for part-time workers though.
Oh, okay. These are full-time
Yeah.
workers who,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, very nice. Very nice.
All right, folks. And if you want, do we have a Black paper today?
No, we do not. Just look at BlackPressUSA. Yeah, tell them to do that.
Okay. So yeah, lots of headlines to look at over at Black Press USA. And you can also get caught up on the latest episodes of Let It Be Known because, you know, some of this content is relevant yesterday, day before yesterday, as well as tomorrow. So go ahead and check out Greer has on what's popping over at Black Press USA. And thank God our website is still up. So
You know, that story, real quick, just a real quick note. You saw Isaiah Thomas's story up there. One thing he said, Niele, that I hope that people take to heart. I don't know how, you know, he's got a new IPO, right? He's the first NBA player to have a publicly traded company, and they are penny stocks. And what he said was, you know, there's a lot of white folks that give stocks. They stuff the stockings on Christmas with stocks. And years later, their kids and their family members, they benefit huge from it. That's what he'd like to start giving. Like to see other folks start giving is stock.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So yeah, you guys go check out that story and get some holiday stocking stuffer ideas from Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah.
I guess it helps build, well, not I guess, but it helps build generational wealth. You can find that story and more at BlackPressUSA.com.
All right, folks, and we will see you tomorrow.